you see that? Read it again. Or hit the go live button.
Just remove it. That's okay. All right, we're live. We'll kill the music.
I like the music.
Yeah, it is good, but you can't play it while we're having our
Why not?
live.
6 in.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? Another episode, another week of live videos. Guess who's here with us again today? Tiffany's here.
Oh, whatever. Why do you
Welcome.
have to say that every time? So embarrassing.
Today, short-term rentals. How much we have so much conversation around short-term rentals.
Yeah.
With our business and YouTube and questions that we get. I would say a majority of the questions we get around short-term rentals, and it causes a lot of confusion. And I think there's also a lot of confusion in the national spotlight and then also locally. So hopefully tonight we can clear some of that up. What you don't, you're saying, okay, like it's not.
I'm agreeing with you.
Oh, okay.
Which is a shocker, right?
What?
That I'm agreeing with you.
That is a shocker, but it's on video now that Tiffany agrees with
I don't
me.
know if we're live, are we?
No, we're live.
Oh,
It's documented.
okay. Delete that part.
Yeah, exactly. Looks like Ed, how you doing, buddy? We're doing good. Good to see you. Thanks for joining.
Hi, Ed.
What's going on? All right. So in case you guys have never been on our channel before on YouTube, we're the Harita team, Frank and Tiffany Harita. And if you are watching this through YouTube, we're living in Myrtle Beach, the Harita team. And we're live on 2 other platforms, except Facebook was giving us issues today. So now we're just YouTube and X today.
Okay.
So let's talk about short-term rentals.
Let's do it.
All right. So we could go through the list that I have. As usual, I have a list of things. And Tiffany wanted to just kind of talk about what we see here in the area.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, to start the conversation off, what do you think are the most important, what do you think is the number one most important thing that people need to think about when they're going to buy a short-term rental?
Here in Myrtle Beach or in general?
Yeah, I would say here in Myrtle Beach. Let's start with that, even though we're going to talk national stuff, because it kind of applies to both.
Well, first you have to make sure that you can do short-term rentals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it depends on, I think a lot of people, am I jumping ahead to what you want to talk about?
No, it's fine. We can go there.
You asked me a question.
Yeah.
So
No, it's fine.
I have a lot of people that think that they can buy in any community in the Grand Strand and rent the house out, or, hey, I just want a second home now. I'm not ready to move here. I'll just short-term rental it when I'm not using it. And they don't understand that a lot of communities, especially off the oceanfront, don't allow short-term rentals. And I think that is something that confuses people, because I think you see it on TV and you've seen people just renting in their neighborhood and stuff, and you think you can do that anywhere.
A short-term rental anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that's one of the top things that we went through in the past couple of years. You know, short-term rentals have gotten a bad name. And for those of you that don't know, Airbnb is like, they took Airbnb and it became synonymous with short-term rental.
Right. Yeah.
So when we talk short-term rentals, we're talking Airbnb rentals.
Yeah.
But in the past few years, what was happening was everybody was buying short-term rentals.
Mm-hmm.
That was the hot thing. And then what was happening was they really weren't paying particular attention, to Tiffany's point, as to where the short-term rental was.
Mm-hmm.
And so you might buy a short-term rental in a neighborhood, or let's say like we live near the beach here. So it might be near the beach. It's not on the beach. It's a couple blocks away or a mile away or 2 miles away. But then what happens is a lot of places, and I know this from talking to other agents, they change the rules in the city. So they purchased a short-term rental. Then they passed rules and laws that said, hey, no more short-term rentals. So you bought a place, you were short-term rentaling it, if that's a word, rentaling it. And then they said, no, you can't do it anymore. Now your income goes down the drain and you have to sell the place or figure something else out. And that's, you know, we'll get into long-term maybe versus short-term, but that's
I think probably when the whole craze of Airbnbs started, neighborhoods, communities hadn't seen that before. So they probably didn't have any specific regulations within the HOA documents or city ordinances to have any rules about it. And then it started, I think the problem is, of course, a few bad thing, people kill it for everybody, but people were renting these houses and having crazy parties and being super loud and destructive in the neighborhood. And then I think people started complaining. And so communities and cities and counties started to do something about that to kind of restrict it a little bit. And we've even seen that around here where there's been HOAs, even condo complexes that have allowed short-term rentals. And then they have in the past few years voted their HOA board to change the bylaws to restrict short-term rentals. And so something like you said, if you already owned in there and that was what you were doing with it, it was just an investment property. What do you do now? You just rent it long-term or sell it, I suppose. But I get it, because people that are living there and want quiet and all of that don't want partying and random people in and out. But I also get it because we own short-term rentals that we don't like restrictions on it. So I see it from both sides. What do y'all think? It'd be interesting to know. But
I mean, let's start simple. So if I'm watching this and, you know, I'm not familiar with, I don't have any rental properties, or I'm even thinking about doing a short-term rental, what are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about short-term rentals? Why not long-term rental? Like, why are we focused on short-term rental? And what are some of the misconceptions when people come here? What would you say?
Like investors or people renting it? Like renters or investors?
Investors. Yeah.
I think I say this to people, you're either cut out for having a short-term rental or you're not, because it sounds great. Like I can have a vacation rental place. And then in reality, you come to visit a few months after it's being rented out and something's ruined. There's a ding on the wall. Your furniture is stained. Something was stolen, you know.
That happened to us today.
A remote went missing from a TV. I mean, I don't understand, but like random stuff. We've had like little decorations stolen in the past. Of course, we've been doing this for a long time. This is not like something that happens regularly. It just happened to happen today. But over the years, we've had like little things stolen. So I think then people just decide, I don't like people in my space. I don't like people damaging my stuff and using my things and sleeping in my bed. And then, but they need the income for it. So then they're in a pickle a little bit. Or you see the upside of it and you love it. And then you start buying more because you're like, this is great. Let me get more. So I find that people either swing one way or the other, but you don't really know how you're going to feel in that situation, I think, until you actually do it sometimes. And because I think some people that I've sold to thought they were really they were ready. You know, I've educated them. They knew what they were getting into. And then after a year or so, they call me up and say, I want to sell. I just can't do this. It's too stressful. I can't handle it. And I get it. I'm like, I totally understand. It's not for everybody. So I think that's a big misconception, is that it's an easy thing, or you don't think about, you know, how it feels to have somebody in your space.
I would say that if you think it is easy, that's a red flag. It's
HGTV, you know?
Yeah. But you may not know that you've been told that it's easy and it's really not, right? So if you're told it's easy from somebody else, then you're like, oh, great. But it's not easy. I did a post on this maybe a week ago. I was at one of our properties. And I was just trying to explain to some people in a quick, short video that it's a real job. I mean, what we have is another separate business. And we have
because we self-manage
for sure. But even if we didn't, I mean, it's obviously more, but it's a separate business, making sure that it's rented, making sure it's clean, making sure they have what they need every time we have someone come in. You've got to have a system and a process for everything so that it makes sense to do the short-term rental.
And we've done a lot of different systems over the years. Like we've used other people to manage for us. We've
Mhm.
managed ourselves partially, and then now we totally manage. But at the beginning of self-managing, like I just to say one story, we were on VRBO and Airbnb, and you can sync the calendars. Well, they can also unsync randomly. And somebody
Yeah.
happened to double book, and somebody else had booked the same week on VRBO months ago before that happened. And so I called Airbnb right away and I
Mhm.
said, something crazy happened. The calendar didn't read VRBO's calendar. And they're like, sorry to hear that. We'll cancel our booking, but we're going to charge you like $500. You're going to get dinged on your superhost status. And it wasn't something that I did on purpose. Like the calendar were synced for what I know, from what I knew. So then I got terrified that that would happen again at any point in time and somebody would double book. So now we have systems in place to prevent that from happening. But I wouldn't have known that until we got into self-managing 100%. So we've kind of learned a little bit along the way,
Yeah.
with those
Yeah.
little mistakes, and then it prevents mistakes from happening in the future. So we try to tell people about these things. All of the things that we've learned along the way, the hard way. Because we didn't know what the heck we were doing at the beginning.
Well, I mean, so okay, what are the big, I mean, I know what you hear people that talk about rentals. Like this kind of goes into rentals in general too, not just
Sure.
short term, but you have people that are like, "Oh my gosh, I don't want to get calls in the middle of the night."
Mhm.
Now, this is a one for me because
Yeah.
we'll get a call. It's not a lot. I mean, we've had how long have we had short-term rentals? 13, 14, 13, 14 years.
Mhm.
How many times do you think we've gotten a call in the
Knock on
middle of the
wood.
night? Yes, and knock on wood.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night, how many times do you think we've gotten a call
A few
about any of our
times.
properties?
Yeah, a few times. I mean,
Yeah, but like 5, 10.
yeah, probably 10. I mean, 10 to 20, probably.
Okay.
I
All
would
right.
say.
So let's go high and say 10 to 20. I think it's
Yeah.
lower, but let's say 10 to 20.
I mean, what do you call the middle of the night? Because I go to bed at 9.
After,
so like I
after
get a
10.
call at 10.
I would say after 10.
Yeah, okay.
10 or
Yeah.
later. So
Yeah.
10 or later, getting a phone call, which on just a regular rental, so short term vacation rental,
Mhm.
10 to 20 calls in 13 years.
Yeah.
That's like a call a year.
Yeah.
That's like almost a call a year. So I
Mhm.
want to have that conversation because I think that deters a lot of people who might be not taking that step because they think that that's going to be an issue. Now, how you manage it and how you
Yeah.
take care of it and the quality of the property, there's a lot of things to consider.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, I mean, we're like anybody else and I don't want the calls. And I think, if you
No.
can spell everything out for people before it actually happens, and let them know exactly what's coming, then that's a big deal. So that helps kind of curb those questions.
Well, that's part of the process that we now have that we've learned over the years
Mhm.
is now we have guidebooks that we put out ahead of time. We send them multiple emails ahead of time or notices just saying, hey, make sure to check out the guidebook. And we have everything in there using the TV, check-in process, check-out process, how to pull the sofa bed out, all the stuff. But every time somebody calls with a silly question in the middle of the night, I add that to the guidebook because I'm like, seriously? Like you think some stuff is pretty self-explanatory, but you just have to keep adding it. We've been the issue here in our area, or you know what I'm going to say?
I think so.
People there, it's very confusing. We live here, so now it's not. But we made this mistake when we first were looking for places we didn't live here.
Yeah.
There's North Ocean Boulevard and South Ocean Boulevard in Myrtle Beach, but there's also North Ocean Boulevard and South Ocean Boulevard in North Myrtle Beach. And it is very, very confusing to people. And especially if you are starting to type in the GPS an address and it automatically populates, but it does North Myrtle Beach and you don't know. You think that's the one.
Yeah.
So we've had people in the middle of the night call and they're like, and they start freaking out because they've heard like horror stories. So they're already like having a panic attack, like this isn't real. And they're like, this isn't the building, that's not here. I can't get in the door. The code's not working. And I'm like, okay, what does the building look like? What's the name of the building? And talk them through it. And then I'm like, what town are you in? Half the time they don't know.
They don't know.
And they could end up 30 minutes away from the actual place they're trying to be.
in their defense, well, actually in our defense, so we just talked about and saying, hey, it was 10 to 20 calls. I would say half those calls are people being at the wrong building because they messed up Myrtle Beach and North Myrtle. So it's not even an actual issue. It's, hey, I'm in the wrong place. I can't get into the building. And those are easy to handle. Not when you're half asleep because you're like, what is happening right now? But that's a lot of the calls.
But
so
we have put it very specifically, like spelled it out for people, and they still do.
But how many people read that for the first time? Like when they go?
Again, like I said, they type it in the address and they start to panic all of a sudden if it's not the right place, and they don't start thinking like, oh, maybe I'm not at the right place.
Yeah. So specification on directions and making sure that you have all the systems that get them all this stuff.
Especially here in the Grand Strand. I'm not sure how it is in other coastal areas if they have so many of the same street names, like so close. Because in North Myrtle and Myrtle, sometimes people don't even realize it's different towns.
Sure. No, 100%.
So that's something just, I guess, specific to our area that we deal with. Who would have known? Who would have known?
Yeah. Some of the other questions I'm thinking about that people, so we have the, hey, I don't want to get a call in the middle of the night.
Yeah. What if some damage happens?
Yeah, some damage, which can happen. You have to have insurance. And we have had water leaks in our units. We're talking now, that could happen whether you have a single family home or you have a condo, complex, you're in a condo complex. There are some different things to keep in mind though. What else should someone be thinking about? And by the way, this is a good segue real quick into the fact that we are doing a 3-part series on our YouTube channel. And the first one will drop this Sunday.
Yes.
So we'll do 2 more after that, but we talk about a lot of short-term rental issues, conversations, topics, and we address a lot of different things in the videos. But today is really just questions you might have, questions we get that we wanted to answer for all of you.
But on our existing Buying on the Oceanfront playlist, we have so much content on HOA questions to ask, like general questions so much stuff on there.
A lot.
Because it's a lot to go over with somebody in one sitting. Your mind can kind of like start clouding up and you don't remember everything to ask. And we also don't want to overwhelm people because you can get into analysis paralysis and become so overwhelmed and stressed out about it that you can't make a decision on buying a short-term rental because you get scared hearing all of this information.
Well, let's say that, let's go with that. So I want to buy an oceanfront property.
Yeah.
Let's say it's a condo. There's only 180 buildings in the Grand Strand. Roughly.
He's estimating.
I'm estimating. That's not exact. But there's only hundreds of buildings. And then you could have 100 units in a building.
Yeah.
So you're talking thousands of units. How am I going to narrow it down? What should I do to help me narrow down the process? What are some things I need to keep in mind? Because I want to make a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I ask people, are you going to be using it? Is it something that you're going to use personally, or is it something you're just buying as an investment because you're coming at it from a different angle, depending on your answer?
Yeah. Because
some people like really quiet areas like Cherry Grove Beach, and they want to be there, even though it might not be as strong of a rental income producing area as like right in the heart of North Myrtle or Myrtle Beach. Because during the off season, there's not a lot going on. Well, there's not usually a lot going on in general there. If you're just looking at it as a pure investment standpoint, I tell people, our things that we look at is what's around it, how close is it to draws throughout the year, sports complex, convention center, the attractions like Broadway at the beach, Barefoot Landing, things like that are going to bring people in year round. And then also the condo building itself, what kind of amenities does it have that would draw renters to come? Indoor pools during the winter, outdoor pools, lazy river during the summer. But we have clients that personally don't want that. They want to have a quiet building, a small building.
Sure.
And so something that we're looking for as a pure investment wouldn't be good for them if they're looking for it as a family vacation home that they're renting out when they're not using it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think that would depend on your goals.
100%.
which really vary depending on the person. So
I think too, there's like a feel, right?
Yeah.
Some people just like the feel of a building, how it's
Yeah.
designed and where it sits and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
I think also we have high rises and low rises.
Yes.
So you have elevators and buildings with no elevators.
Yeah.
And some of the low rises I love for the fact that you're so close to the beach. You feel
Mhm.
like you're in the ocean, like you're so close because it's so small, but then you get in these big high rises and I feel like you're sometimes so far away. But there's pros and cons to everything. So, you know, you only have 8 people in a low rise maybe or 12 and that's the HOA.
Yeah,
And
but then
so,
also most low rises around here are wood
yes.
frame and not concrete and steel. So
Mhm.
does that matter to you? Like if there is a low rise, most 1 to 3 level buildings that are low rise don't have elevators, like Frank said.
Mhm.
So if you're on the 3rd floor, you're lugging up all the beach chairs, your coolers, like everything up and down. Usually 4 sets of stairs because in most of the area, parking is underneath.
Mhm.
So the 3rd floor is really 4th.
Yeah.
So that's good. But talking about the levels, I used to hate being on a high level, you know, but what I've realized over the years is the higher you are, the less chance you're going to get somebody leaking down on you.
Mhm.
Because if you're on a low level, let's say you have 16 stories and you're on the 2nd floor, all of those condos above you could have a water heater burst, toilet clog, shower clog, something that creates water in your condo.
100%.
So being at the top is good for more control over that kind
Mhm.
of situation, because that's the emergency calls we usually get is water intrusion.
Yeah, for sure. And water's tough because it can start over here and it can end
Mhm.
up over here and you have no idea where it's coming from. That makes it very frustrating.
But again, some people don't rent our we have one on the 14th floor, and some people ask me, what floor is your condo? And we tell them, and they're like, I'm sorry, it looks beautiful, but it's too high for me.
Yeah.
And we have clients too. So that's the thing also. I've had clients say, I will only buy the 1st floor, or I will only buy the penthouse. So I would say the sweet spot, if you're looking for something that will appeal to the most people, is probably between the 5th and 9th floor, something that's not too low, not too high. That's going to appeal to the most people and not cause those dramatic swings of that's too low for me or that's too high for me.
100%. So then I'm thinking about like, what have we learned in the 14 years that we've had oceanfront, you know, investment property, short-term rentals? What are some things that we've learned that most people never hear about or they don't read about because it's kind of one of those not secret things, but it's just what we know because we've been doing it for so long. And I would say number 1 would be the front desk or amenities being tied to the front desk and condotel versus non-condotel.
So when we bought our first short-term rental property, we had long-term rental property. We actually were not local to Myrtle Beach. So we were like a lot of our clients where we did not live where we were buying. And we didn't know anything we were agents. We had our license, but we still hired an agent here because we didn't know anything about the area, the buildings. And we were kind of naive going into it. Like we just thought it was like a condo building in Charlotte that was not too much to think about. Like it's just normal condo building. And we didn't put that much thought into all of these things that we have experienced over over a decade since we've actually owned short-term rentals. And I think a lot of people do that. You know what's in your area locally, and you don't understand that the coast, even here in Myrtle Beach, off the oceanfront and the oceanfront are 2 totally
100%.
different
100%
markets, worlds, like rules, things you have to think about, like night and day.
I talked about this in the last live we did. It's so important that you get an agent. If you come here and you are looking to purchase, buy or sell, it's very important that they understand the difference between the oceanfront, non-oceanfront, investment, non-investment. And that's what I think really helps us with our clients, is because we've been through all this that we're sharing.
I'd say, and maybe for you, I don't know your thoughts on this. One of the biggest questions people ask, or things that they call and say, this is what I want, is a low HOA on the oceanfront.
Hmm.
And that's so important to them. They're like, these buildings are so high HOA, and this one's only $500 a month, and everything else is $1,200 a month. And what I've learned, to answer your question, over the years that I was totally naive about, is that the monthly HOA fee is not, you have to think of it more than just how much you're paying. Because if you're paying so much less than everybody else on the oceanfront, it costs what it costs to maintain these buildings. They are going through a ton of wear and tear with the salt air, all of the storms, all of the people using it nonstop, like going up and down the elevator 50 million times. There is so much maintenance on these buildings that what we have found is HOA boards that their only goal is to keep the HOA dues down. It actually is a detriment at the end of the day, because at some point, all of those things are going to need to be replaced. Some things are going to come up and they don't have the reserves to cover it. So they have to get an assessment from the owners outside of the HOA. And sometimes they're really big assessments that are unexpected. So I would really highly suggest, if you're looking at a oceanfront condo short-term rental property, that you really understand what goes into that HOA payment, because it's not, and we did a video on this, it's not just about the number. What does the HOA have in reserves? What are they doing with that HOA dues? What's included in it? Does it include electric in the unit? Some include electric, some don't. Some include your HO6 insurance. Some don't include that. Some HOAs include building insurance, and a lot of them have moved to putting those as a separate assessment now. So that one number is not everything.
No, it's not. And the other part of it is the HOA usually does change based on how many bedrooms are in the unit. So your HOA is going to be higher if you go to a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom over a 1-bedroom.
True.
And a lot of people don't know that. But what Tiffany said is very accurate. And I think what happens to a lot of buildings is they keep it low. It's not that they have one issue and they have to do an assessment. What happens is it catches them off guard.
Yes.
They keep it low for so long. There's no maintenance. There's so much deferred maintenance that when they do it, it's multiple things. And that's what really puts people in trouble. And there's a lot of people, you would be surprised. We're very involved in our buildings. Tiffany sits on the board of one of them. And what you notice is when there's an assessment, a lot of people don't have all, you look at people that have a second home or a condo as an investment or a short-term rental, and you think, oh my gosh, there's making so much money. That's not always the case. A lot of people, it might be just used for their family and they're not bringing in all this money. And then you add an assessment that's like $5,000 a year. And that really could mean the difference between being able to keep that condo or not, or 10 grand or whatever. So that's a big deal. So where you buy and the fact that it's going to hurt you financially or not, you really have to make sure the condo is well taken care of. And here's a piece that even we have a tough time sometimes figuring out is the board.
Well, you can ask for the minutes, the budget, all of the HOA documents, but you really don't know who is making decisions until you actually own in the building. Like there's just no way to know that. We have done so much due diligence on buildings, and then you get in there and you're like, huh? What? And
we've made, I don't want to say it's a mistake, but we've made those decisions and then we're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, but that's the thing. But here's the thing. That now has changed because we've gotten a whole new board. Everybody saw the light.
I'm just saying. But in the beginning, you're like.
But that just tells you how important, because a board, HOA could be amazing when you buy it, and then it goes downhill.
Yes.
A lot of people
could be both.
Don't understand or don't know how important those people making those decisions are, because you're off in another state and you're not thinking about it, and you're trusting these other homeowners to make big decisions for everybody in the building. And it's really important who you put in there and what do they bring to the table. I've seen a lot of times where board members run for the board and they're only looking out for their best interest. If they have something specific they want for their unit, It doesn't matter what everybody else, the greater good, they're only out for themselves. How do you know that until you elect them, though?
Yeah, you don't.
But typically board members are in there for 2-year runs for the most part. So boards can come and go, but I always suggest be active with your HOA board. Even if you're not on the board, go to the meetings, attend, ask questions, and understand how important of a role that they play, those people you place into the power of making those decisions on your behalf for your property.
It's like anything. I agree 100%. It's really important, and it could end up being the difference between spending extra thousands of dollars if you don't do it well, and they don't have a scheduled plan on keeping up with the maintenance on the building. And so it's really important. And also for your investment from what's the experience like for people that want to rent your place?
Yeah.
If the building starts to go downhill and you have an amazing unit, but the board isn't doing a great job, then that's going to really affect people wanting to come back and stay in your unit. And then your reviews go down, not the building. Well, the buildings might too, but mostly it's going to be your review. Well, you will suffer.
Here's something else. It's tough because a lot of people vacationing, and I didn't even know this, like back in the day when I was vacationing in Myrtle Beach, I thought things were hotels because a lot of the condo buildings here have front desk. They have a website that it looks like a hotel. They have the different rooms listed. And you honestly, like as a vacationer, not understanding, you think it's just a hotel room. And so they go online to Google and let's say they had a bad experience with the front desk and they write that in Google. And meanwhile, you're doing an Airbnb and making an excellent experience for your guest, but future potential renters are like, what building is this? And then they go on Google and they see all these terrible reviews. It's kind of hard to separate. And so having a complex with a front desk without a front desk is a big decision you have to make.
For sure. Well, and I want to go back to that because I cut you off earlier when we were talking about it, and you said, when I asked you about condo hotels and tied to the front desk and not. But before we do that, I was just going to say one other thing, which is this, I hate to say this game, but when you have a short-term rental, everything that you do is you're beholden to reviews.
Yes.
And we play this game, and it is very unfortunate. A lot of people that will stay in your property, most of them are really good.
Great. Yeah.
But you get somebody once in a while who you could do everything in your power to make sure it was the best experience ever. And they're going to give you a 1-star.
Yes.
It is so important to try and get 5-star, 5-star, 5-star. We work really hard to try and make sure we get 5-star, 5-star, 5-star. But when you get 1-star, now the platforms are on the renter's side, and they're like, oh my, and they'll say something that's ridiculous. And you're like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me right now? And then they or they want reimbursement, or they, whatever the situation is, it's very difficult. So you have to be able to handle the ups and downs of reviews, and it takes time. After you gain, one of the things we'll talk about here in a minute too. Gosh, there's so many things to talk about short-term rentals.
We'd have to have a lot of videos.
But there's so much that's out of your control. And so you can't help it. For example, right now in front of some areas in Myrtle Beach, they're dredging. So they put like a bridge out to the middle of nowhere in the ocean to bring in sand. If you have a condo building by there and they're drilling or dredging or making noise during the day, people will be like, oh my gosh, this is a terrible experience. And it's like, we have nothing to do with that.
There happened to be that going on in between two of our condos.
2 of our condos. So there's so much that you can't control, but be prepared. You're going to have thick skin because this is stuff that happens, and you just gotta gut it out.
I'm an overachiever and I'm a perfectionist. So if I don't get a 5-star, like I used to get so stressed out and sad. I don't know. It was just like horrible because I'm like, they don't like me. They don't like my place. But it really, I had to realize you can't make everybody happy.
No.
And some people are just complainers. They're going to find something. But the other thing is there are videos on YouTube and other platforms that tell people how to cheat an Airbnb property, like what to say, what kind of things to say to the help desk to get a free stay, to get reimbursement, to hang the fruit of a 5-star review over the owner's head. So you're basically, if you don't give me a refund, I will give you a 1-star review. Or they'll say to Airbnb, hey, I saw a camera in the unit. There might not be any camera. Airbnb doesn't check. They just shut down all of you could have 10 listings. Somebody said it in one, they shut down all of them, cancel all your bookings. So it is very serious. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but
no, but these are things that, this is why we're giving them the raw / unfiltered. And so this is really what you deal with.
Yeah. And I heard because I'm on like Airbnb message boards from around the world. So I like to get information on what people are dealing with all over the place, not just here, although I do look at the ones here too. But one time somebody said, what I do is I take a video before every renter comes in and I post it to YouTube and I send it to them. It's like a private YouTube. And that keeps them kind of on the up and up. And I said, that's a really good idea to protect us with insurance, to protect us with the platforms and a renter, if we had to do a lawsuit or something like that. And so I just framed it as, hey, our condo's ready early for you. Here's our pre-quality check-in walkthrough. And so they can see the whole video of going through the condo. It's documented on that day, time-stamped. And honestly, we've had the best renters.
Yeah, we have.
Since then, even ones that I saw the reviews and they were like, they tried to cheat me. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then they're good. So,
but that comes from the systems and processes though.
Exactly.
So if you have systems and processes and a repeatable system that, shows people that you're serious and you're not just fly by night and you don't just do this once in a while. And it's like, wow, they're professional. They have this down to a science. They're sending me a video. They are documenting everything. They're collecting all the right information before we rent. Like you have a system and it's treated like a business, then that makes a big difference.
We didn't do that before and we did get scammed a few times. So again, you live and you learn, but still we've bought multiple properties. So it hasn't kept us from, we're not saying this because it's like, you shouldn't do this. It's just, these are things that you would come across potentially along the way, and anything that you can do to try to avoid that for the most part, if we can set you up for more success, I would rather you not have to go through things that we have had to experience,
Absolutely. Evan, just want to say thanks, man, for the comment. We appreciate you. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. So I think the other thing that I was thinking about was, okay, let's go back to the original conversation about the front desk. So here in Myrtle Beach, in some cases, amenities are tied to the front desk. So if you don't rent your unit through the front desk, they won't allow your people that rent your unit to use the front desk.
Or like a pool or a fitness center or
a what did I say? Front desk. Sorry. I meant amenities. So like they can't use the workout center, the pool. Like if you don't, if they don't rent through the front desk and they use you as because you're managing your own units, sometimes that's an issue. You wouldn't know that if you didn't have an agent that didn't know. And we've seen that many times where an agent is like, oh yeah, buy a unit. And then they move in and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that I had to use the front desk. So let's talk about why that's a big issue. So if someone is renting a unit on their own, let's say like we self-manage, what do we pay usually off our units, like to manage it? Like, versus the front desk. So what does it cost us?
So, I mean, different platforms charge different things, but VRBO is like 5%. Airbnb switch now that we go through Hostfully is 15%.
Yeah.
And booking is 15%.
Okay. So if you go through a front desk without all that and you're not managing it yourself and you let the front desk manage it, not all cases, but it could be anywhere from 25, 30% to 50%.
More. Yeah.
60.
But
could be, it's
but
crazy.
Here's the thing. It's not 60% before booking.com fees, VRBO fees. They're going to have those fees. And then after that, their net is what they take 40% of, let's just say
100%.
So it's not like they're taking the 15% Airbnb and then they get the other 25%. They're saying after we make the money, then we take that
100%
for the most part. And I think a lot of people don't know that the booking platforms are charging so much. So when you keep giving people their cuts, it does
it's death by 1,000 cuts.
Profit. Your profits. So
well, and that then we talk to we get into some other stuff. So
but the front desk can be really, I have clients that love using a front desk because they live far away. They
true.
honestly don't want to deal with any hassle. Like they don't want to even hear about their condo. They want maintenance to fix it. They want them to, some of the front desk keep mattresses, refrigerators, whatever in their storage. So they just bring another one up if you need it.
Well,
So-
you got two different types of people. It could be just a second home and owner, right? They
Yes.
don't want to invest. So a lot of people, they're like, hey, I'm not looking to, I don't care if I make money on my unit.
Yes,
I just
yeah.
want to rent it out once in a while. I just want to know the peace of mind is there for
Right.
them. The on-site, that's different. So you just have to
Mhm.
be aware. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is it could really make a huge difference, because what I want
Right.
to talk about next is financing.
Mhm.
So we talked a little bit about HOAs and assessments. So if the building isn't taken care of, then you get assessed for whatever they have to do. So you have that.
Yeah.
Now, if you're renting on site, that's another big hit. So
Okay.
you've got assessments and costs. You've got the front desk.
Mhm.
Now, let's say that you want to buy a condo. We get this all the time. I want to buy a condo. Let's do two at once.
Oh my goodness. I know what you're gonna say.
I've got a lender over here in
No.
Texas or California.
And they swear they can do it.
And not only that, and I want to cash flow $600
Oh
bucks
my
a month,
God.
and I'm going to finance it.
And I want 5% down.
Yes. So I want 5% down.
Oceanfront.
I want to
unit.
make $500 to $1,000 a month. And I got a lender over here in
I
Texas.
wish
and
we
there's
would be buying like a ton of these if that was
Yeah.
the case.
But this is like three topics in one here. So let's have this
I
conversation.
don't know if that is like doable in other areas. Maybe let us know if you have an area that is the case. Let us know.
Meaning-
We'd love to know about that.
Yeah, meaning a lender out of state and also cash flowing that much
Cash
while
flowing that much
financing. Yes.
on a short-term rental oceanfront property.
Yes. But let's break it down for the people that
That's
are
crazy.
new.
So one, it's crazy. I tell people for the most part, you cannot finance one of these oceanfront condo buildings that have short-term rentals, especially not front desks, on a conventional market, like with just a Wells Fargo from your hometown. And they say, I swear, my guy, I told them this is what I'm doing. They said they can do that building.
Mhm.
And I don't want to force people to use, we always give multiple lenders that can do these type of buildings that we know for sure will get it done. And they swear up and down, and I call their lender and I say, listen, this is oceanfront. It's all short-term rentals. Yeah, we can do it. And literally, you don't know how many times they pay for the appraisal. They go through 3 weeks of all like attorneys doing everything, paying for the certificate of assessment, like all the stuff you need to do to close. And then at the last minute, the bank says, I'm sorry, we didn't know is this kind of property. The underwriter denied it.
Mhm.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
And I can't force somebody to believe me that that's going to happen. So we have to let them do what they're going to do. And then I say, okay, let's go to one of my lenders to try to pick up the pieces and see if they can get your appraisal sent over from the other bank you're using, blah, blah, blah. And we try to do what we can. But I don't know why lenders say they can do something and they can't actually do it. It's the craziest thing. But listen to your agent. And I always recommend, look, just go to multiple lenders and go to one that you know for sure can do it, and just have the conversation with them and apply with them.
It's a lot of times it's good to go local. They don't know, if you don't go local, they don't understand what's going on locally, and they don't understand what you're purchasing. They don't
Yeah.
understand the lay of the land there. It's really usually good to go. If I was going and I was going to buy a place in Austin, Texas, I would go to probably a lender in Austin. Probably would do that. You don't have to, but sometimes depending on the specific property, and this is a unique property situation. But the biggest point in this whole thing is that's part of it, the lender and the not being able to approve you.
Yeah.
But then you get into on top of everything else, if you finance a condo, it is extremely difficult, if not impossible, to cash flow. In a lot of cases.
I would say depending on how much you put down.
Yes, of course.
And so also people that want to put 5% down on an oceanfront condo, there's not a lender that I know that will do that. Even if it's a second home, which you used to be able to get 5-10% on a second home. Now we've seen with the market the past couple years, lenders are wanting at least 25 to 30% down now. It used to be 20%. Maybe that'll loosen up now that the rates are going down. I'm not sure. Some of the lenders on the oceanfront turned to only doing ARMs. They wouldn't even do a fixed loan, which they would years ago. So the volatility of the mortgage market for oceanfront condos is ever changing, and we try to stay on top of it. But you definitely need to go with the advice of somebody that knows what they're doing before you spend your money and your time and maybe lose the property that you want.
So we're talking about front desk taking a big cut. We're talking about if you're financing now, you've got a mortgage, right? And depending on how much you put down will determine the
I'd
payment.
say at least 50% done. You're safely like, okay.
You might cash flow. Yeah.
Right.
So I would agree 50%. Then you've got possibly, if the building's not getting taken care of, you bought it because it had a low HOA, but that means it's probably in a lot of cases not taken care of. So now you're going to have assessments. So you have to be careful. Then on top of all of that, we have an insurance thing going on.
Which we've talked about.
Yeah, we have.
We talked about that.
But I'm just saying, like short-term rentals, that's where a lot of it hits pretty good. So it's
we
tough
have videos
to get
that go in depth with front desk companies, all the stuff we're kind of hitting on. We have videos on our channel that you can go and review all those topics
100%
at any time. And we go in more in depth on that. And you can kind of remind yourself of what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. You also, depending on what you're doing, there's business licenses and operational rules in Myrtle Beach.
That's one thing for sure. So you have to remit your taxes. A lot of the companies like Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com, all those sites, Google, wherever you're booking on, don't actually remit the taxes for you. Airbnb does right now. They used to not, but our municipality or whatever, I guess, changed the rules and now they have to. But Booking.com doesn't, VRBO. So we have to submit taxes every single month. You have to remit your rental taxes that you're collecting from your guests. And you have to have a business license that renews every year. So there are things, and we use systems that like kind of do these things
help
for
us, keep us on track.
Because I'm not filling out the paperwork. I don't want to make a mistake. So we do use systems to do that for us, to keep us making sure we're doing it correctly. Some people do it entirely on their own. If you have a rental management company, they're most likely going to do this for you. This is a good question to ask.
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, I'm trying to think of what else. We've covered a lot.
We should talk about like good things though, because I feel like we're talking.
Well, I'm just talking about the real deal. This is real.
I mean, it is real.
This is the real stuff. You're going to deal with this. I don't care where you buy. So what good things are you thinking when you say good things? What do you mean?
I mean, tax benefits are good.
Oh, I was just going to say, okay, so let's go that route. So why is it good to buy short-term rentals? Tax benefits is a big one. Bonus depreciation. So I'm not going to go way down a rabbit hole into the weeds on this. I'm not a CPA, but when you buy rental property, if you make a lot of money and you need a tax write-off, bonus depreciation, which we did a video on, and we did a video on bonus depreciation and what's so great about it. Watch our video on bonus depreciation, but it really helps you lower your tax liability. And there's multiple steps you got to take to do it. But that's one of the huge benefits of short-term rentals.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I would say a short-term rental you can actually use versus a long-term rental.
Yep.
So it can be a really nice thing for your family to have a property. Let's say you spend $5,000 on a beach vacation, and let's say that you don't make enough to cover everything and you're a couple thousand in the hole. You're probably still doing better because you can go use it.
Yeah.
And you're essentially almost getting all of your vacations paid for and building equity over time on the oceanfront. Excuse me. But like the oceanfront prices were super down in like the Great Recession, I think we talked about. Then they went like crazy and now they're down a little bit again, but definitely not even near those. So it's a long-term hold situation, I would say, on the oceanfront.
Yeah. I think that's a good one though. Like you get a chance to use it. You can take, mini trips to your unit, have friends and family stay there if that's something you want to do.
You don't have to worry about evicting people.
Yeah.
Unless you rent it more than 30 days. We decided not to do snowbirds. We have done it in the past.
Yeah.
But we found personally that we make more money Snowbirds want an unbelievably low price for the months that they want to rent it. And if we just rented a few weekends a month in the off season, we're making the same amount of money and we don't have the same wear and tear. And anything over 30 days in Myrtle Beach is considered a long-term rental. So if you call the cops and say, hey, they were supposed to leave, it was an Airbnb and they're not out, they're going to say that's your problem. You have to go to court, get them out.
Another rule you need to know.
Yes,
which
because
is
I
why
didn't even know that.
Having a professional, that's been through this, and we haven't seen everything, but we've seen a lot take place over the 13, 14 years that we've had short-term rentals.
Yes.
Cash flow is another reason, which we touched on earlier. But obviously, if you're renting it, your costs are here and you make this, the difference is the cash flow. Mm-hmm. So it's a great, I don't want to say retirement because that's not what it is, but it's great to have money coming in every month. But again, you're doing a lot of work for that money.
But look, the renters are paying your mortgage down over time.
Yes.
You're building appreciation. Hopefully you're getting some cash flow along the way. And when our last short-term rental property, we were looking and we ran the numbers on a long-term, like single family home versus a short-term condo. And there was no way we could possibly make even close to the amount of money on a long-term rental. You are capped at what you can make on a long-term rental. With short-term rental, yes, it's a lot of work, but the more work you put in, the more money you can make. And we know our potential of what we do in our business plan. And the upside for a short-term rental for us is just so much better, even though it's more high risk.
For sure. It is definitely high risk. That's something else I wanted to talk about. Short-term rentals, especially not just short-term rentals, also like here being on a vacation rental, right? It costs more. It is a higher risk game. I hate to say the word game, but it's a higher risk business because of the fact that you have a lot of things that are out of your control is how I look at it.
For sure.
So because of that, you have to think about that. I would recommend that if you are thinking about, investing in real estate, you have to first understand what do you like about it and what do you not like about it. We just like oceanfront properties. We love the condos. I grew up doing that vacation with my family, not here, other places, but I just love it. We love being at the beach. We like renovating them. We like redoing them. That's what we do.
When people tell us like, hey, I'm celebrating our 50th anniversary or my child's first birthday, they'll tell, like a lot of times they'll share with us these special moments. Hey, we're celebrating our, we just got married and we are having our honeymoon at your condo. Oh my gosh, I just got chills.
Yeah.
Like we get to be such a big part of people's big moments in life because that's the type of property they're going to. And we always try to do something special when people tell us that, but that is so cool.
Yeah,
you don't get that's just a really cool thing.
Yeah, that's the rewarding piece of it.
It's so rewarding. Yeah.
And we meet some really great people too. So, and heck, we've even put our properties into silent auctions to raise money.
Yes. Donated a week.
Yeah, we'll donate a week here and there. So there's a lot of cool things that you can do in it that you can take advantage of. But I think at the end of the day, having a business plan, not an in-depth business plan, but what is it that I like about property? And do I think I can, this is something that's going to help me reach my goals? Because long-term versus short-term rentals, totally different. And oceanfront definitely keeps you on your toes. There's no doubt about it.
But again, that goes back to people's goals. Like, do you want it as your vacation home? Are you planning to just rent it out till it pays itself off and then you're using it, just moving here maybe? Are you just buying it as an investment? There's so many different reasons people buy this type of property.
Yeah. And I think
we do have a lot of cash buyers.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, nationally, Airbnb, short-term rentals has gotten a bad rap. But I think if you're serious about it and you want to continue to do it, I think you should be restrictive as to where you do it and how you do it. But it's still a really great option if you're willing to put the work in and the time. What else? Is there anything else that we haven't covered that you think people would want to know, or anything we haven't touched on?
There are short-term rental opportunities off of the oceanfront. Again, we have to go back to don't assume you can do a short-term rental, but just make sure to check the bylaws if it's in an HOA or the city ordinances. Sometimes they have overlays that don't allow for short-term rentals. For example, Surfside Beach, on one street, you could see a sign that says, rented, rent, call this number to rent. And the house right across the street is not allowed to do short-term rentals. So you just always have to be aware ahead of time before you purchase and make sure that that is allowed. A lot of people choose to do off of the ocean here because the HOA is way lower.
Yes.
I mean, you're talking about a couple $100 a month instead of $1,000 a month. And usually they're low rise and a little bit more spacious units for the price. Prices are lower. But of course, you're not going to bring in typically as much money as you could get on an oceanfront condo.
Correct.
So you just have to weigh
Yeah.
the pros and cons of that. But that could be a good option for somebody wanting to have a vacation property, but not have as much risk as the direct oceanfront.
Yeah.
And there's some really great golf course communities.
Yeah, there really are. There's a lot of great options out here in Myrtle Beach.
Something for everyone.
In a lot of places, but here for sure. So, if you're interested, reach out to us. We do renovations, we do building, we can help you with oceanfront, we can help you with just buying and selling. So we do pretty much all of it. Yeah. And we have experience with all of it. So
should we talk about rental history?
Why not? Sure. Rental history in the terms of some people want to know, okay, what does this condo make? What, I need to see rental history, which is a logical question and a logical request. But I think what we see, and you can add to this, what we find is that if I used it for a second home, I may not have a realistic, history of what it can actually do.
Because you're staying there, maybe 4th of July week, you stay there every week. That's the highest revenue week, by the way, here.
Yeah, 4th of July. So you need, so you can't just go off of rental income history. Right. You have to use other systems like we use that have a model, and they say, okay, well, if you're renting an oceanfront, here's what they typically will command based on, in this area. So you have to be careful. If you eliminate, and if you have your agent eliminate by, here's what the history is, then you may be hurting yourself.
Because you could have a bad management company.
That too.
There's so many different.
And that's what we do. We go in, we don't really care because we know what we're going to do.
We know what these units are capable of. We're like, okay, a 1-bedroom, we're most realistically on the downside. This is what we're going to make on the upside. This is what we could do. 2-bedroom, we know what range we can be in. And let's just say all of ours, really, we do more than most people in our buildings because we go and renovate them. We try to make them unique, stand out on the sites, do stuff that'll be like a hero picture. And there's some buildings that somebody could buy in, and the rental history says that they make $18,000 a year. And we're having that same unit and we're making $45,000 a year in the same building, same unit. Of course, we renovate ours, but again, there's so much that you can do that goes into how much you're going to make. It's not black and white.
Well, and don't forget, you don't make that. You then have costs.
Well, but
you bring in, that's what you bring in maybe.
Gross.
But gross. So, but you're right. It depends on a lot, and it depends on how you do it. And again, all those pieces that you get, reviews, who's taking a cut, how much are you going to keep is really all that matters, is your profit. But if you don't manage it well, you end up with nothing.
Well, and speaking of that, a lot of times we see units that have really strong rental income histories because they rent through the front desk. And so they're typically going to get a higher income than, not than like somebody that is doing a business like us, but typically for the most part than an offsite rental management company, let's just say, if you're looking between the two. But you're also paying them double. So it looks on paper like they're bringing in so much money, but then you go to an offsite management company that's charging you less and they're not bringing in the same income.
That's right.
So at the end of the day, there's so much to consider with that. So also the HOA fee is one thing that people see as black and white. It's not, but rental income history people see as black and white. That's like their main thing they want to see. And it's really more complicated than that. And you have to be more open-minded, because you could be missing out on some amazing opportunities that you just discount because it doesn't have a great history or no history.
I'm laughing because I just thought of another thing we should talk about real quick.
I need some wine.
Yeah, Tiffany. Okay, so
Tiffany
wants to have happy hour every time we do this video. First right of refusal.
Yes. Oh, geez.
So in these buildings, we had this happen to us where we were like, oh my gosh, we want this unit. We were really hot to trot on it.
It was when the market was
really heating up, and we really wanted it. Rates were good.
Yeah.
And it is a whole story. But at the end of the day, we wanted to get this unit. It happened to us twice in 2 different buildings, I think.
No, the first time was an appraisal. Yeah.
Okay. So we put in an offer on a unit, and the building had first right of refusal from the developer.
Let's say what that means.
Yeah. First right of refusal means that we put in an offer on a unit, and the developer or somebody HOA will take a look at the offer, and they get to decide, do they want to jump in place of you and take it at that price, or do they want to let you move forward with the sale? And they chose to take the contract from us.
Which had not, because in the down market, all the HOAs were just signing them off.
Yeah.
Nobody was using their first right of refusal, like in over a decade that we've been doing it. And so that caught us off guard, because we knew that a lot of buildings have first right of refusal, but we were like, oh, nobody ever exercises that right. Nobody does that. Yeah. And then it happened to us.
Yeah.
And that sucked. There was nothing we could do.
It's frustrating. It's a frustrating experience. There's no doubt about it.
And anything that you pay for, the appraisal, anything that you're paying for along the way before you get that, like they're taking their first right of refusal, you don't get back. They don't reimburse you for that. They just take over your contract. So what the attorneys see it as your buyer's skin in the game. That's your skin in the game. That's your risk you're taking when you're trying to purchase a property. So that's something to be aware of. And now they're not really doing it as much during those 2-year period when the oceanfront, you couldn't even get a condo. Everybody's contracts are being bought out in those buildings. Is crazy. But now we're not seeing that. It's again, the time frame where they're just signing off on them, but it's something to be aware of.
Yeah. I was thinking about that as you were talking.
And that was like, crazy. We were like, seriously, out of all times.
That was rough.
And then by the time we got bitter about that, the interest rate had gone up like a whole percentage point because of the timing of everything. That was crazy.
I was still bitter about that.
But we still buy oceanfront because we're crazy, I guess. Or it's just a great
it's just fun.
Thing.
I think you either like you said, you either like it or you don't. So
how are we doing on time?
We're doing good. We just passed an hour.
Okay,
but I think
we should wrap it up then.
But I want to make sure everybody gets their questions answered, because that's why we do this. So anything else you can think of? I think we did a good job.
Well, I'd say again, we're going to have a series on things to ask when you're looking for a management company on a short-term rental. That's coming up on the channel. But again, we have a lot of the points that we addressed. We have videos on. I would suggest to go watch those, especially if you're considering a property. You really need to know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things that you don't even know to ask. You don't know to ask until you've experienced it. And so we try to
tell you everything.
Put out that information on the channel. And we don't just only do oceanfront.
No, we do everything. Yeah.
It's something that we are passionate about.
Yeah. Yeah, we are. Okay, great. Cool. So listen, if you have other questions, if you see this later and you're watching it and you have questions about oceanfront, send them to us. We love to answer the questions. We just went over questions that we get tonight. That's what we went over, stuff we always commonly hear, what we've dealt with personally, things you may not learn about, just out and about. We could go another hour for sure. And so we try to cover everything. And as we get new stuff, we'll bring it to you guys. But if you have topics that you want to see us do live videos on, or any videos on, let us know. Put it in the comments in the channel, put it in the comments here, email us. All of our info is at the bottom of this video, and we'll keep doing what we're doing. We love doing this. So in the meantime, everybody take care, and we'll see you next Thursday. All right, everybody. Bye.